begin.
Welcome everybody to wisetake.com MMA DFS podcast. I'm your host Jeff, aka Wigsplitter. Saturday night features another solid MMA DFS card. It's UFC Fight Night, Porier versus Pettis. If you're not already a subscriber, head on over to wisetake.com and check out our MMA package. We have individual weekly packages that cover each event. That's only $6.99. It has premium articles. It also has detailed picks for each event. In fact, we're currently running a free trial promotion for our $29.99 monthly plan. Sign up and get a free 7-day access to all the premium content covering NBA, NFL, and MMA. If for some reason you are not satisfied, you can cancel within the 7 days and you will not be charged. Real quick though, before we get into the action, I want to give a quick shout out to Wuchef. He had a almost perfect lineup. He scored a 559. He came in second place. He come just if Owen St. Preux would have finished Corey Anderson in the first round, he would have came in first place in his tournament for the fight to the finish entry. Great job again. Shout out to Wuchef. Before we get into UFC Fight Night, Porier versus Pettis, let's go over UFC 217, Bisping versus St. Pierre. My overall picks, I was 7-4. Couple fights they were a little close to pick. For example, the Vic Duffy fight. I thought Duffy was going to be a little more game. Vic just came and just took it to him. And then the other, Harris, Godbeer, disqualification. I'm not exactly sure what he was thinking. The ref told him to stop 3 times audibly, and he still head kicked him for the DQ after the accidental shot to the nuggets. And then Rose Namajunas utterly destroying Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And I thought it was going to be a battle for the full 5 rounds. Was not expecting Rose to finish her like that. And then the Garbrandt-Dillashaw fight, I think Cody was just a little too cocky, and he got caught not paying attention. It just that head kick just put him out. But overall, I was 7-4, so not bad. My individual lineup actually scored 448, and that's because I stacked the Jędrzejczyk and Namajunas fight, expecting to get approximately 100 points from Jędrzejczyk and anywhere between 50 and 70 points from Namajunas. But it ended up being Namajunas scoring over 100 points and Jędrzejczyk not scoring as much. So let's move on to UFC Fight Night. Porier versus Pettis in Norfolk, Virginia, Saturday, November 11th. The first fight on the card is Darren Stewart versus Carl Robertson. Darren Stewart's striker, 0-1 in the UFC with 1 no contest. He's a solid wrestler with decent stand-up. Probably going to want to take Robertson down, who's a kickboxer who got his opportunity to fight in the UFC with Dana White's the Tuesday Night Contender Series with a 15-second knockout of his opponent. He is currently riding a 4-fight winning streak. Stewart's salary is $7,400. He's a plus 180 underdog. Roberson's salary is $9,100. He's a minus 220 favorite. For lineup construction wise, both these guys are viable options. Stewart, he has he has decent takedowns, average strikes per minute. Robertson is a high strike output, so it's possible that I like both these guys, depending on a little more research and also how the weight cut goes and all that stuff. I like looking at the face-offs. I should have got a tip on the Jadzeric and Namajunas face-off, and same thing with the Dillashaw and Garbrandt face-off. Just seemed like when I rewatched it, it looked like Garbrandt was a little tentative, and then she's just a thug, and she was just ready to rock. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Jake Collier versus Marcel Fortuna. Collier is a wrestler. His salary is $7,600 on DraftKings. It's $200. He's a plus 200 underdog. Fortuna is $8,600 salary, and he's a minus 240 favorite. It's possible that both these guys, they're both grapplers. Collier has a wrestling base. Fortuna has a BJJ background. Fortuna has insane KO power. Plus, he has good takedown defense. Collier doesn't necessarily average too many takedowns. He only averages one takedown per fight. They both average a little over 3 strikes per minute. But Fortuna possibly has a little bit more of the power in this one. For lineup wise, I like Fortuna's salary. If Collier, for a little salary relief, I'm not sure if I want to lean towards him yet, but all depends on how the overall lineup build goes. On the next fight, we have Court McGee versus Shawn Strickland. McGee's salary is $7,500. He's a plus 205 underdog. Strickland is $8,700 salary and is minus 245 favorite. Strickland is a solid striker. He has above average takedown defense. Tends to be a little tentative when it comes to offense. And he has a very, very low fight IQ. He goes in there and just bangs, though. He averages almost 4 strikes per minute and 1 takedown per fight. Court McGee, on the other hand, is a former tough champion. He's always moving forward, constant pressure. I'm not sure if Court McGee has evolved with MMA, or if he's just sort of stuck in that old fighting style. But he is an aggressive wrestler with solid takedowns. If Strickland can stuff those takedowns and keep the fight standing, this could turn into a war. Moving on to the next fight, on to the FS1 prelims, we have Angela Overkill Hill versus Nina Ansaroff. Angela Hill this is her second run, I believe, in the UFC. She actually left the UFC and went to Invicta and actually became their champion. She has a lot of looping movement. She has real, I don't know, it's like an awkward movement, in and out type pop shots, one shot here, one shot there. Doesn't really take her opponents down. Does have a high volume of striking. Ansaroff has improved striking, and she has a decent submission game. Average just under 1 takedown per minute, and she averages 3.73 strikes per minute. I'm sorry, 1 takedown per fight. Angela Hill, on the other hand, is probably going to want to keep the fight standing and use her strikes to keep distance, and then her movement, and just to keep working for a decision. Angela Hill salary is $9,000, and she's a minus 200 favorite. And Ansaroff is $7,200 salary, plus 170 underdog. Just going off of previous scoring, 9,000 to me is a little steep for Angela Hill to possibly work for a decision. And Antonov's salary is intriguing because she's not too far of an underdog, and 7,200 isn't bad. If you can get 50 to 75 points, if she was able to pull off the victory and pay off that 7,200 salary, that would be perfect to be able to fit in some of the higher price fighters as we move on to the card. Moving on to the next fight is Sage Northcutt going up against Michael Quinones. Both these guys are karate, taekwondo, kajikembo fighters, so it should be a striking battle. Northcutt's salary is 8,500. He's a minus 160 favorite. Quinones is 7,700, and he's a plus 140 underdog. Sage Northcutt is one of those UFC hype trains that came in and they were just like boosting him up, and he got derailed. And he's a work in progress still, but at the same time, he's a freak of nature. He also has highly decorated. He's a third degree black belt in karate and kajikembo. And Quinones is a black belt in taekwondo. Both these guys are going to be throwing kicks. And I could see Sage Northcutt possibly shooting in for takedowns. He does average a little over 1.5 takedowns per fight. Volume of strikes, Quinones is a little lacking, and Sage Northcutt has a little bit more output. Both these guys' salaries are pretty manageable, but I could see this fight possibly going to a decision. I'm not really sure yet. Gonna have to look more into it. And then moving on to the next fight, we have Tatiana Suarez going up against Viviana Pereira. Tatiana Suarez is a tough champion, Ultimate Fighter Series champion. She has solid striking, but her grappling game is what she's going to rely on. She averages a lot of takedowns, and especially in DFS, takedowns are points. So you got to think that's a lot. And plus her submissions is she's dangerous on the ground. Viviana Pereira, at the same time, same thing. She's a grappler / striker. Very impressive amateur career. Very decorated. She's a strawweight champion title holder for XFC, Asperia, FC National, Pettis Combat, Limo Fight Combat. Very aggressive, technical striker with solid power. She's going to want to probably keep the fight standing, but I think she could hold her own on the ground. Suarez's salary is 8,500. She's a minus 255 favorite. Pereira is 7,000 salary plus 215 underdog. I'm intrigued by both these fighters. Depending on how the roster build works out, I could see possibly working both these ladies in, especially Pereira at 7,000. I mean, a punt that has high upside with the striking and, being able to defend, any type of takedowns. But Tatiana Suarez has 100% takedown accuracy, and she averages 12 takedowns in her fights so far. So, moving on to the next fight, the last fight on the FS1 prelims, we have Dodson, 7,600 salary, minus 115 favorite, going up against Marlon Moraes, 8,600 salary, and it's a minus 105 as well. Dodson is a very frenetic fighter. They call him the nickname, the Magician. And it's funny because Marlon, his nickname is Magic. Marlon Magic Moraes. So we got two magicians going at it. Dodson is a high volume striker. He's going to throw some awkward angle, spinning kicks. He's going to shoot for takedowns. Very good takedown defense. Moraes, same thing. Moraes is a former wheelchair fighting champion. He's also a Muay Thai striker. He has crazy leg kicks. He's going to probably go for the legs, try to take Dodson's legs out. But Dodson is a formidable opponent. He's fought Demetrius Johnson twice, has came up short twice. But his only other loss, I believe, is to John Lineker. So it's he's going to be, it's a hard test. For the salary, I'm intrigued with the build around Dodson just because of the salary relief, and it's pretty much a pick 'em fight. But I'm going to have to see how it goes, how the roster lineup goes. Moving on to the next fight, we have Joe Lauzon going up against Clay the Carpenter Guida. Both these guys are insane. Joe Lauzon has had Fight of the Night bonus, I think like 8 or 9 times or something like that. He holds the record. Dude's tough as nails. He has very good submissions. Will stand and bang if he needs to. Clay the Carpenter Guida, this dude is a gritty wrestler. I mean, he would literally just put his head down, drive you into the fence, go for a double leg takedown. Takedowns are points. He averages 3.46 takedowns per fight. Lauzon has a little over 2.4 takedowns per fight. They're both solid strikers. I could see this turning into war and then another Fight of the Night bonus. Salary-wise, Joe Lauzon 8,100 plus 100 underdog. Guida 8,100 salary, and he is a minus 120 favorite. Since Guida has gone to Team Alpha Male, he has improved his striking, so I could see him using his striking to set up his wrestling, and then possibly working to ground and pound or even for submission. But I'm not sure if it'd be a good idea to go to the ground with Lauzon. He's pretty good on the floor too. So moving on to the next fight, we have Rafael Assuncio. 9,300 salary. He's a minus 335 favorite going up against Matthew Lopez. He's a 6,900 salary and plus 275 underdog. Assuncio is a Muay Thai specialist with solid takedown defense, above average power, and he also has solid grappling skills. Lopez is a wrestler by trade, very athletic. He has improved striking and good takedown defense. He's going to probably want to wrestle Assuncio, take him down, stifle him on the ground, maybe do some ground and pound, some lay and pray. Lopez averages 3.25 takedowns per fight, and Assuncio is 1.4. Assuncio is a heavier volume striker. He's probably going to have the power advantage over Lopez. Salary-wise, Assuncio is pretty high up there, 9,300, and Lopez is the bare minimum, 6,900. He has a tough hill to climb against Assuncio. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Nate Marquardt going up against Cesar Ferreira. Now, Nate Marquardt is another UFC veteran. He's a grinding wrestler. He's just one of those guys that he'll just walk you to the cage, try to take you down, do some lay and pray, some ground and pound. If the fight stays on the feet, he does have a tendency to get KO'd. He is an older fighter. Going up against Cesar Ferreira, BJJ practitioner with above average striking power. Ferreira's salary is 9,100. He's a minus 280 favorite. Marquardt is 7,100 salary and is a plus 240 underdog. It's possible that their grappling stifles each other and it turns into a stand-up battle. Both these guys have been KO'd, so it could be possible that somebody gets their lights put out. According to the roster, my roster build so far, I don't have anything built with either of these two guys in there. It's sort of I don't know. I'm just not liking the matchup myself, particularly. So let's move on to the next fight. We have Junior Albini versus Andre Arlovski. Albini's salary is $8,900. He's a minus 270 favorite going up against Arlovski. $7,300 salary plus 230 underdog. Albini is a grappler. He's well-rounded heavyweight. He'll probably want to look to keep the fight standing and look for the knockout shot. Arlovski is a Sambo fighter, long-time UFC veteran, currently on a 5-fight losing skid. He's still a well-balanced fighter. He has precision scribes, solid submission game, and at one point in time he did have KO power, but he's pretty much known for his ground and pound and his submission skills. Arlovski has the upside for a GPP. If you're going to build a risky GPP lineup, I could see Arlovski fitting into that, especially at that salary. Same thing with Albini. $8,900 salary is not too bad. It gives you a little wiggle room to be able to fit some other fighters in. But I could see possibly if you're going to do a GPP lineup, Arlovski could fit in there. Same thing with Albini. Cash-wise, we'll have to look into that. Moving on to the next fight, we have Matt Brown versus Matt the Immortal Brown versus Diego Lionheart Sanchez. Both these guys are grizzled vets. Matt Brown has discussed retirement, and that always makes me leery. When a guy's contemplating retirement, especially when it comes to fighting, it just makes me nervous because I want to roster Matt Brown going up against Diego Sanchez. Matt Brown's salary is $9,400. He's a minus 360 favorite. Diego Sanchez is $6,800 salary, and he's a plus 300 underdog. Now, Matt Brown, dude, is he's tough, man. I mean, he's been through some wars. He can submit people. He can pound them out. Now, Diego Sanchez is he's a grizzled vet. He's a wrestler by trade. Gone through some battles. But I'm not sure if age is catching up to him or if the sport is just passing him by. With a lot of these guys that are on this card, it's just one of those things where, the sport has evolved past their skill set. So we're just sort of left with what they have been. But roster-wise, I could see rostering Matt Brown, depending on, I want to just see how the rest of the week goes and see how the weight cut goes for both these guys at weigh-ins. All right, moving on to the main event, we have Dustin the Diamond Porier versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. Porier is he's one of those guys where he's just like, he started out hot, then he had a couple losses, and now he's back on a hot streak again. Very powerful, aggressive striker, technical strikes with decent submission game. Now Anthony Pettis, if you haven't seen it or you may have heard about it, go to YouTube and look up Showtime Kick, where he did the off the cage kick, head kick of Benson Henderson, and then he, that's what partially made him famous. But he's a karate guy, and Poirier he has a boxing type style. Both these guys are going to throw a lot of punches. Both these guys are going to be aggressive. Pettis, it seems like he'll either want to strike or he's going to want to use his submission or his grappling. He doesn't. To me, it just seems like he's tentative transitioning from striking to his grappling game. Hopefully he's been able to work through that. But roster-wise, Porier is 8,000 salary, he's a plus 105 underdog. And Pettis is 8,200 salary, and he's a minus 125 favorite. Now, both these guys I'm going to consider rostering. I was considering doing a Porier build and a Pettis build, and then work my way out from there. I could see this one possibly not making out of the second or third round with somebody finished, but I want to see if Pettis can make it to weight cut without any issues, and see how they both look at weigh-ins. All right, that was UFC Fight Night preview. Porier versus Pettis. If you guys have any questions, you could always hit me up on Twitter. You can follow me at JEFPO. And if you go for the 7-day free trial, you can always hit me up in the chat, the premium chat. I'm always in there checking messages. If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you out and walk you through any type of roster build questions you have. And I think that's it. You guys have fun, and always be safe out there.